Big-time sports are back in Brooklyn. We're going to have to wait a couple days for opening night. However, joining me on the phone to talk about the Brooklyn Nets, our NBA writer Sean Devaney. And Sean, just real quickly, how does the move across the Hudson from New Jersey to Brooklyn change the dynamic of New York basketball right now?
Well, you know, you've had a market that's really been dominated by the Knicks, and now you've got another team coming right into that backyard there in Brooklyn in what is, a fantastic new facility, and really just a real overhaul of that area, the Atlantic Yards area. And they've got an owner who's willing to spend money. That's been one thing where the Knicks have always had an advantage in that area, is that being owned by MSG, they've sort of had unlimited funds to go out and spend on players. Now they've got somebody in their backyard who's willing to spend money. It's really going to be difficult for the Knicks to fend off the Nets in terms of the fan base. You
know, it's interesting. I used to live actually about 3 blocks from where the Barclays Center is, and I can tell you Brooklyn definitely has its own identity. People who live there definitely identify with the borough, and it's going to be interesting to see how quickly the Nets can really challenge the Knicks in New York. And it makes me wonder, how good is this team now that they re-signed Darren Williams and brought in Joe Johnson? I know the backcourt looks pretty good. How good are these Nets?
Well, they're going to be much better than they've been. They've had really a series of injuries, and they've sort of been waiting for this moment to unveil themselves a little bit, and that's really going to make a big difference. Is that they're not just going in there and going in to win 20 games. They're going to be a 48-50 win team, and really be one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. They should certainly be able to make the playoffs. And the question is really, will they be able to break in and maybe win the division, beat out the Celtics and the Knicks in the Atlantic Division, be one of the top 4 teams and get into that second round of the playoffs, spent $300 million or committed themselves to $300 million worth of payroll in the offseason. Mikhail Prokhorov, the owner, did not do that in order to lose. So, this is really going to be a team that will be much improved.
Absolutely. I wonder too. I'm thinking about another team that opened a new stadium and new uniforms and a new name and brought in some talent. In baseball, that was the Miami Marlins, and it did not work out real well for them. How important is it for the Brooklyn Nets that they deliver on some of this promise right away?
Yeah, I think that they need a good start. There's no question that you bring up the Marlins. That's a good example of a team that had a bad start and never recovered, and you really don't want to see that with the Nets. I think that these are players that, even though it is sort of a new team, they are familiar with each other. They just had injuries. Darren Williams had some injuries last year. Brooke Lopez was out for most of the year. But when you look at the starting 5, they played together for significant stretches last year. Gerald Wallace was somebody that they acquired at the trade deadline. So, when you look at who they have, these are guys who are familiar with each other. It's not a completely new team. They've kept the same coach. It's not like they're putting in a new system. So I think there is some continuity there. The difference is that everybody's healthy. Everybody's on the same page. And, I think that that's going to be a real advantage for them, as opposed to other teams that, maybe that try to overhaul things too quickly.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. We all get started on Saturday night in Brooklyn against the Toronto Raptors. Sean, thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you.
That's going to do it for now from the Sporting News Studios. I'm Tom Vandervoort. Thanks for watching.